They finally did it, man. It took a while, but they finally did it. So Marvel Avengers, the game that has so many ups and downs like a bad marriage. But yet, they came through again. They seem to be always great at hitting the nail on the head when they bring out these new expansions. The problem that they have is consistency. Now, I'm not gonna go in here and bash this game like that because I think the game is good. Problem is, how long will it sustain us? Well, I went through, played the new content that came in. I am really loving the new improvements to the systems as far as the upgrading of the gear, getting rid of the unnecessary resources, the earnable loot, which they kind of do like a loot box kind of thing, but it doesn't cost much and it's in-game currency that you earn to get these said loot boxes. And sometimes certain missions will reward free opens. So they kind of took the EA, Smite, Paladins, that kind of approach to the earnable loot. But hey, they gave what you asked for. You asked for a way to earn cosmetics with in-game currency without necessarily spending real money for them. Now it does look like the marketplace is still going to have their MCU stuff is going to be on the marketplace, but it looks like the stuff that you'll be able to earn is stuff that was in the game day one that by now everybody should have earned already anyway without having to pay for it. Big ups to them on that. Like I said, on the upgrade system, I'm still bummed out about one thing, and I don't know who designed this and then didn't even think about using it. The issue I got with the new upgraded system, the way gear works now, they kind of took a step out of Destiny's playbook, where now stuff that you own, if you like the gear that you have but you want to level it up, you can now take gear that you don't care about and sacrifice it to level up the gear that you want to keep because of the perks that you got. So that's a very smart way of doing it. It beats that old system of every piece of gear you get, you got to have the resources to level that piece of gear up before it's even viable. You can make things very viable real quick. But the problem that I got is, when is the loadout button gonna work, Crystal Dynamics?
When is the loadout button gonna work?
When is that coming? Like, I played through the raid last night and I did beat it. I played it on stream. That video coming later on, and I also will be streaming later on too as well. Try to see if I can get geared up to 175. So it's gonna be a grind. They did add the grind back. You're gonna have some time to work out some things. But back to the loadout. I get some pretty good gear, but then as I go into the codex and I start to read, the raid relies heavily on vibranium to be successful. Most people build don't have vibranium in it. But it would be nice, instead of having to scrap my entire build that I do like running, I have to remove every piece of that and put on every piece of gear that works for the raid every single time I want to run the raid. And then when I come out of the raid, then I got to switch back over to the gear that I was wearing before I went into the raid. When is the loadout button gonna work? I should be able to say, hey, I want to run Family Reunion, OLT. I want to run the OLT. Let me put my OLT build on real quick. Hey, I want to run the raid. Let me put my raid build on real quick. Hey, I'm just messing around and grinding. Let me put my grind build on real quick. I should be able to switch between these loadouts. You got the loadout button there, but it doesn't work. But aside from that, raid is very good. Takes a while to beat. Got a lot of content to go through. I didn't get everything in my stream last night. I ended the stream after a while because we were just dying over and over and over and over and over. It took about 4 to 5 hours to beat, but we did complete it. But now that I kind of got an idea of how it works, we're gonna get in here and we're gonna try to get it done. So be looking for that. Be looking for that later on tonight. But anyway, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Spider-Man. I'm on PS5, so I got Spider-Man. I'm not really mad about that. But when I say that they did a great job with that, they did a great job with that. It feels like they literally just pulled Insomniac Spider-Man out of their game and inserted him here. He plays 100%. I was shocked because as I started leveling him up and I started getting more of his skill tree unlocked, I started noticing that I pretty much play him how I play Insomniac Spider-Man, or any Spider-Man game before, because Insomniac Spider-Man's, he got some good build to him, some good fluidity to him, even though we know that's not a word. Fluidity, is that a word? Somebody tell me if it's a word. But he's very fluid. Even in Avengers, he's very fluid. But that's never been an issue. It's never been Crystal Dynamics' issue. Crystal Dynamics' issue is not building the characters. It's giving us the longevity. And I promise you, this raid will keep you busy for a while. And I promise you, getting to 175 is not going to be as easy as getting to 150. You're really going to have to work at it. And that is where I say staying power is. So like when people talk about, there's not a lot to do in the game, there's plenty to do in the game. Do you find it interesting? That's up to you. Me, I got on yesterday and I played from 10 to about 6 o'clock in the evening, 10 a.m. to about 6 o'clock in the evening before I even touched the raid. This is just playing with Spider-Man. So IGN, you can miss me with that. There ain't a lot to do and it's not fun to play with Spider-Man. Unlocking his iconic suit, there is a storyline that you follow. Now it's not cinematic and all blessed up with all the glory that the other expansions had, but there is still a storyline you follow, and they do give you some cutscenes. It's just not like cinematic cutscenes. It's more like, hey, go out and do this mission. You do your thing, you come back here, you do it. Kind of feels almost like, once you get into the meat of a Bethesda game, you get your cinematics in the beginning, and then the rest of it is in-game story. You go up to an NPC, you talk to said NPC, you find out some new information, you go out and do some more stuff, associated with said mission that you're given. So let's not sit up here and act like they just completely said, we're just throwing Spider-Man in, we're giving him nothing far as a storyline. They gave you a storyline. It's a storyline to follow. I actually did complete it. So you can miss me with that. The way he traverses, in my last video, I'll put a link up here when I reacted to it, I predicted that was going to be the way it was, because of the fact that the way that Marvel Avengers is set up, that's the only way you're gonna be able to do it. Now, because of that, that only is a factor in open areas where ain't no buildings around. That's the only time you feel like, man, he just latching on to an invisible ceiling in the sky. When you are within the vicinity of buildings or things that he can actually, that makes sense for him to latch on to, he does latch on to him, because if you watch, you'll actually see his body turn towards whatever it is he's actually swinging on. So it's not just, he just swinging in the air the entire time. That only works for people want to swing around with Spider-Man. They don't want to spend most of their time running on the ground with Spider-Man. So they had to come up with a way to do that. And the way that they came up with to do that was attaching a visible ceiling in the sky and let him swing on that. So I already predicted that was going to happen. But anyway, my take on the raid, I give it an 8 out of 10. Yeah, 8 out of 10. Spider-Man's inclusion into the game, I have to say a 9, because of the fact that he's not available for everybody. If he was available for everybody, he'd be a solid 10. This probably be the best character they added in the game. But yeah, very impressed with what they got. Hopefully there's more to come. Hopefully we ain't got to wait too long for more content. And on that note, keep it cool. I'm out.